here.
It's a little late, frankly, for the Happy New Year's, you know?
Why? Just happened a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that's too long. Statute of limitations is kind of run out on the New Year's. 3 days. Plenty.
3 days.
By the right of the council, by the will of the force, welcome back into another episode of the Galaxy Famous, Gamorrean approved Jedi Talk Podcast. You are following us at Jedi Talk Podcast on Instagram, youtube.com/Jedi Talk, and we can't thank you fucking enough for that. We are not your daddy's podcast. We are Jedi Talk, a Star Wars podcast, been around for close to, if not over 10 years. Happy 2025, ladies and gentlemen of the galaxy. All species around, welcome into this madness, this podcast nobody asked for, but a lot of people asked for. I hope you enjoyed counting down our 10 most listened to episodes of 2024. And now we are here. It is officially January 1st. July, not yet. Calm down there, Ginger Tom. It is not July yet, but it's January 1st here as we're recording this. I am MeTOMicA here on the High Council, and it is just me this evening. Evan was planning to be here, and as you know, Brad is on hiatus. But the first episode, he's just going to get a solo Tom one, and it definitely won't be as long as all the others. But I wanted to get on here and just chat, and maybe get a little bit excited about what's to come for Star Wars in 2025. And I thought I'd pull an article that was dropped actually today from our good buddies at Star Wars Newsnet on everything coming to Star Wars in 2025. So I'm just going to kind of run through that list. You're going to be hearing some music in the background. That's all original by MeTOMicA. I composed and put those together. The one you're hearing right now is The Galaxy's Reckoning, the Jedi Talk theme song. Hope you've been digging that. We've been digging opening our shows with them. And then our band, Scourge, the one that Brad and I are in, we'll eventually put a proper recording to that. This is just composed. I did it in an app. So yeah, and then we'll get Kyle to lay down a track or lay down a solo on that. How long can I go? Was this solo show? How long can I go without ripping on Kyle? Maybe I'm making a New Year's resolution. 2025, not to rip on that little piece of shit. I wonder how long I could go. Let's see. I mean, I've got so many ways I could go. And I'm not going to take the easy road and make a joke about his attractive mother. We're not going to do that. We do that enough on Jedi Talk. I think we've met our quota about that. We have. That was the alert that we've met our quota for the day already. It's. You should have seen the Jedi Talk chat. But I think I'm going to keep the resolutions. We're not going to see how long I can go without actually particularly ripping it on that pocket watch collector of a terrible human being and no personality whatsoever. He says he might be coming out here soon. God can hope not. So anyway. Yeah, like I said, Evan was going to be here. But just shit happens, work happens. So we're just going to put this solo show together and just kind of get excited about what's to come for Star Wars in 2025. But I just wanted to say one thing. Yeah, Skeleton Crew's on, and episode 6 was last night, and Evan and I chatted on our last episode. We were pretty stoked for episode 6 because episode 5, Skeleton Crew, was my favorite yet. I'm not quite sure if it was Evan's complete favorite, but it was mine. And it ended on such a high note, and Evan and I will talk in detail about episode 6 and most likely episode 7 by the next time you hear Jedi Talk, which will be next week after this episode. But episode 6 just fell flat for me, and again, you'll hear the details from more the both of us. But I was bored by it, and disappointed because Bryce Dallas Howard directed it, and I know she didn't write it, but I'll say this: such a fall from grace from where episode 5 ended. However, I will call out the fantastic character development and just character arcs of the character, the ones that we saw, particularly Wim and KB. KB specifically had a really great one in this episode, and I think it showcased a lot of fantastic things that a lot of people could make connections to personally, or someone in their family, or I don't know, just be moved by a cool story. But man, hate to use the word filler, but ooh. But anyway, so let's kick it off. 2025 for the cause. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. What's to come after what 2024 left behind for Star Wars? So obviously, we were just talking about Skeleton Crew, right? So we have 2 episodes left of Skeleton Crew in the new year. Episodes 7 and 8, obviously. So we've got a lot to wrap up in the series. If you're keeping track and you're listening here to Jedi Talk, I say what I want about episode 6. We've got 2 episodes to get back to At-Atten, see what's going on about this Old Republic Mint, and hopefully get a nice little wrapped up series, which has been enjoying and entertaining to pay attention to and keep watch of for Star Wars at the end of the year through the beginning. What do you want to see out of Skeleton Crew? That where it's taken. I've seen people say some really good things about episode 6, and I've seen people say it was boring and the filler and a bridge episode, and I've seen a lot of people compare it to Toy Story 3, in a good way. So I don't know. We'll see. First 6 episodes available to stream. Final 2 coming in the coming weeks. But then after that, we get what I am looking forward to the most from Star Wars in 2025, and that's the 2nd season of arguably in the top 2, Andor. So we get Andor Season 2. Arguably Andor was in, arguably the best, I should say. I think hands down, objectively, The Mandalorian with what we've had from seasons 1 through 3. My personal favorite is Ahsoka because just my favorite characters reside in that. So I'm going to lean that way, right? It's my personal favorite, but I can objectively say that The Mandalorian is because it's given us some pretty great highs in season 2. It's not perfect, but it's pretty fucking good. But the first season of Andor, and I'm like the only one on this podcast that defends the fuck out of it. There's so much good shit there. It just boggles my mind. I'm not, and I hear Evan and I hear Brad. They're boring, but I think Evan's the only one that finished it. So at least I can kind of see how he feels a little bit. But for Brad and especially Kyle, I said I made a New Year's resolution. I wouldn't rip on you. Finish the fucking series, okay? For fuck's sake, finish the fucking series. Andor is fucking lit. It's an adult Star Wars show, and it connects. It fucking connects because you could relate. You could equate it to today. Things that are going on to today. You could think one way, or you could think a certain way, and then somebody else can think a complete opposite, and the two of you can come together on common ground and feeling the same way. I'm not going to get deep in the woods of what I mean with that. Take it for what it's worth. But there's a lot of common ground that human beings can find in Andor. It's human suffering and coming together to fight the greater evil for the greater good. I mean, how fucking cool would it have been if they kept that "fuck the Empire" in at the end when she was giving that speech? Goddamn. And Andor Season 2 is going to be... It has the potential to be better than the first season just because of the rich arcs, and they're getting close to Rogue One, and they're going to be doing some time jumps, and Orson Krennic's going to be in it, so I'm sure Galen Erso is going to be in it as well. Ooh. Read Catalyst before Andor Season 2. I will put that out there. Andor out there. Say that quick. But they're going to be debuting Andor Season 2 at Star Wars Celebration, I assume. I'm going to assume they're going to see it. It releases 2 days after Star Wars Celebration, which is, by the way, coming also in 2025. Now, if you've been listening to Jedi Talk for a while, we've been saying for the longest time that we've been going, and that was the plan, and then we dropped like flies. And don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Jedi Talk is public enemy number one when it comes to saying we're going to do one thing and doing the other. Come on. How many fucking times has Brad on this goddamn podcast said he was going to get an AP or his universal annual pass back? He hasn't. And he'll be the first one to tell you. I've said that shit too about other stuff. Go back and find stuff I'm not. It's just Jedi Talk for you. I'm not going to Tokyo. Brad's not either right now. We just gave away our tickets, and congratulations to the winner again. You know, a couple of shows ago we announced that. So freaking happy and so cool. Got some news on that today, actually. That's so cool to see. I know Brad's got to kick his tickets, but Evan's going. So Star Wars Celebration. Excited for that. Evan's going to be our correspondent on the ground in April. What do we expect from that? What do you expect from Star Wars Celebration? They're going to get, obviously, Andor Season 2, the first 2 episodes before anybody else, I'm sure. What I'm hoping from Star Wars Celebration is that they get a nice, chunky Mando and Grogu movie trailer. Look, you can say everything you want about Star Wars and the direction that certain things are taking, where it's heading, and you could be right with it, you know? If you look at what they're focusing on right now with the Disney Plus series, right? And they have video games too, which are doing fucking well. Fallen Order, Survivor, Outlaws. Outlaws got some shit. It got shit on, rightfully so, for gameplay and glitches. But the story is fantastic. Just like the story in Survivor and Fallen Order. They're knocking it out of the park with those. But the mainstream things like the Disney Plus series. Go back and look at Kenobi. It doesn't feel as good as it did when I first saw Kenobi. Same goes for Book of Boba Fett. I haven't gone back to watch Ahsoka in a minute, but I watched the living hell out of it when it was out. And I'm going to give it a good proper run-through again. I'm going to give them all a good run-through again. But say what you want, because I think when you sit down and look at them all from top to bottom, just like I was kind of going through my head there, it's you know, you get the high highs with the Mandalorian. You've got that one great high in Book of Boba Fett, and then the rest could be forgettable. Obi-Wan, Kenobi, the series just fell flat in certain spaces. They completely ripped off of Fallen Order in Episode 4. And Cal didn't even fucking cameo. Seer just gets a mention of the hidden path, and then they flesh the fuck out of the hidden path out in Survivor. It's wild to me. It's insane how much they do that. But anyway. So yeah. So we're there. And I think the public perception on the Disney Plus shows are poor. For the most part. I mean, you've got your diehards who are really into it. Look. Say what you want about The Acolyte, but it shit the bed to pretty much everybody else. The ratings are going to say what they're going to say. I believe it deserved a season 2. There's something there. But the rating's going to rate. And Disney's got to, they're not going to spend a whole bunch of heap more money if people aren't going to watch it. So the reason why I'm so excited to see The Mandalorian and the Grogu trailer is because Disney has to focus now onto the movies again. I think we pulled a clip where Brad was talking about this specifically on our top 10 count on our last episode, where it's just like Disney Plus isn't hit for him, and he's right. And we've been leaning to saying that on the show too. These things are not hitting as high as they did in the past, and part of the reason why The Mandalorian hit so well, at least to me, personally, and I think this goes for a lot of other people. The first season of Mandalorian dropped, or the episode started to come out when Disney Plus launched November 19. I remember watching the trailer for The Mandalorian Season 2 in line, or in queue. I was in the second part of the ride. I already go through the transport and the Rey room on Rise of the Resistance for the first time. We were on the Star Destroyer. We were literally on there. We were in line, waiting to be put in jail, waiting to break, or to be tossed in a cell and be talked to and all that stuff for the first time. And we watched the trailer there because we were waiting for the ride because it had temporarily gone down. That was boarding group 6, so whatever. We were on a resort trip, so I did not give a fuck. I was just ready. I hated having to wear a mask while doing that ride, but so stoked to be doing it for the first time. This was September 2020. So then we were going home, and I think The Mandalorian Season 2 debuted somewhere around Halloween of 2020. Back in 2020, and I lived in Arizona. You know, the pandemic was still very much a thing. Gyms were open, not open. There wasn't an outlet there. You could hike, but hiking was, they frowned upon if you went and looked at, if you went to a fucking, hiking, trail. This is Arizona too. So there was I don't have to rehash the pandemic and how it was, but the things we looked forward to when there was not much to do, or when you were isolated, or just trying to figure things out mentally, figure things out personally. The Mandalorian was there. Season 2 was there. On top of the Imagineering story too. I remember watching that, being super into that. So that had cultural impact. Like when Luke showed up at the end of episode 2, or season 2, the final chapter of episode 2. You couldn't find somebody who was not talking about that. Like, it was everywhere. Because The Mandalorian was huge. I mean, it still is, but Grogu, Din Djarin, fleshing out those stories, bringing Ahsoka Tano in, bringing Bo-Katan in, and Luke at the end. You're just... Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, they were knocking it out of the park at, like, the perfect time. But it's fallen off. The movies are ready to dominate again, and they have been. Star Wars just hasn't been given their opportunity yet. They haven't taken it. They keep moving shit. That's why a lot is riding on this next movie. And the fact that you're putting it on Dave Filoni's shoulders, a lot of stress for him, but smart. I'd do the same goddamn thing, and I'm happy that you're doing that. So I'm very much looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu. And I hope Evan gets to see a trailer at Celebration that he can report back to Jedi Talk. He'll be our correspondent and let us know. Looking forward to that. There's so much more we can get at Celebration. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate, because we'll talk a bunch about it on this podcast leading up to what we expect to get out of it. We're going to get more animated Star Wars and coming in 2025. Young Jedi Adventure Season 2. It's canon. So, are you watching? I know Evan is, I think, like all of it. I've watched the Batu episodes, and I'm eventually going to get to it because I have a daughter who's growing up, and those shows like that are starting to become more and more appealing to her. But I haven't consumed it all. I don't think it matters super too much, other than to say, oh yeah, Yoda was here and they were on Batu, but that's coming. I'm not a Visions guy. I'm not an anime guy. Evan and Brad are not either. I watched and consumed Visions Volume 1, and we talked about it on the podcast. I really fucking dug the Ninth Jedi out of that first season. But the rest of it I was kind of bored to tears of. I think we're getting a Ronin action figure, actually. Black Series, potentially, which would be cool. But we're getting Visions Volume 3. It was confirmed in November. They would return for its third season in 2025. We don't necessarily know when, but it's all Japanese Slate Studios working on the series. So, hey, I'm happy that this is doing well. This is non-canon. It's just Visions, and I'm happy that fans of anime, are getting this, because it's 3 seasons. It sounds like it's doing well. You're not going to keep ordering. I mean, obviously they don't order seasons for things that don't do well. Cough, accolade, cough. Books. We got books coming in 2025. Lots of them. And I've got a problem with some of them. And people might be pissed about it, but hear me out on that. So first off, we're getting more High Republic. The same High Republic initiative that started in January of 2021, it's coming to an end this year. This is insane. I just talked about the pandemic, and I remember I was already messaging back and forth with Evan and Brad in 2020, and then into 21, I remember I can't remember the Operation Project, whatever it was, but it was the release of these High Republic books. And I remember Light of the Jedi being very into it, buying the book, it's showing up, and man, the High Republic has given us so much. It's opened up so much rich content. And there's a list of books that are part of the final wave, including Claudia Gray's Into the Light. It's the final young adult novel in the initiative that will be out on April 1st. Justina Ireland's A Valiant Vow, and the last middle grade book from the High Republic, which comes out on May 6th. The story will conclude with the final adult novel by Sir Charles Soule, Trials of the Jedi. I mean, that one I'm looking forward to the most, which will be released on June 17th. Elsewhere, the second part of the audio drama, Seeds of Starlight by George Mann. Guess I'll be releasing. So, also releasing, that's not part of the High Republic, is the Acolyte. Well, it is, but the Acolyte Wayseeker. So, Justina Ireland is writing one final story for Venestra Row. And Evan, I can't remember if Evan mentioned this, if we talked about this. Wayseeker has been branded as an Acolyte tie-in novel. It's set 20 years before the events of the Leslie Headland series and will feature Vanessa and Master Indara. The writer confirmed on social media that this novel, along with A Valiant Vow, both releasing on the same day, will be her final contributions to Star Wars. The novel, while set in the High Republic era and featuring a character that was a major part of the other novels from that time period, is not technically part of the initiative. Interesting. So I guess I was right. It's canon, but not part of the initiative. But it's set in the High Republic. It's fucking Star Wars for you. The Crystal Crown, also set in a title that's releasing. The Crystal Crown, also set in the High Republic, is Tessa Gratton's Yord and Jecki young adult novel. All right, it's a young adult novel, okay. But Yord and Jecki, those two characters I like. I love Jecki. Jecki was my favorite character from The Acolyte. It's entitled The Crystal Crown. It will be a prequel to The Acolyte and will feature the two characters in a team-up adventure while Yord was still a Padawan and their masters were busy elsewhere. Interesting. Now, this next title, The Mask of Fear. This is the one I've got a problem with. This will be the first in a new trilogy of novels dubbed Reign of the Empire that will bridge the gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. All right, I'm going to finish. I'm going to let myself finish, and then I'm going to go back and rip it. Alexander Freed is writing the first installment, out on February 25th, while Rebecca Roanhorse, Resistance Reborn, and Fran Wilde, From a Certain Point of View, are taking over the follow-up scheduled for 2026 and 2027, respectively. The trilogy will focus on Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera. I like the Saw Gerrera part and a cast of original characters. Great. Here's my problem. Jesus Tap Dancing Christ, we have enough from this time period. For fuck's sake. You put Fallen Order out, you put Survivor out, both in this time period. Andor, Rogue One, Andor Season 2, a heap of novels. How much more? God damn, there are literally other pieces. The whole fucking sequel trilogy's got a goddamn whole shit ton of stuff to explore. Flesh Rey out some more, god damn it. Finn, for God fucking sake. I know you're probably saving it for the flick, but there's the Rise of the First Order, anybody? Because we haven't seen a bit of it yet until unless we get to AT-AT and you're going to tell me the Old Republic Mint is for funding the First Order. I don't know. I did other time periods. Another title, The Bad Batch Sanctuary. Very few details are known about this other than the title. Which sounds like it's coming out, the novel is coming out August 5th, so the Bad Batch are coming back in a novel. We've got some comics, too, from the High Republic. The Battle of Jakku comic series is concluding. A new series coming. Marvel's kicking off a one-shot comic celebrating 10 years of writing Star Wars stories. Starting in February with Charles Soule's Legacy of Vader comic. Yeah, we were talking about that one. Which will bridge the gap between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. So there, I was asking for that. asking for that shit in that time period. But for fuck's sake, they didn't like give it to me as thick of a media as we want it, right? Like, all right, put it in comics. It's like, Can we do a show? You know, or the novel that you're doing about Reign of Empire? No, we good? No, okay. And then there's also a comic set before the Phantom Menace. The new Jedi Knights comic series will have each of the issues focused on a different Jedi, including Yoda, Count Dooku, Mace Windu, Boo, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, among others. I hope Qui-Gon. There's also a new Bad Batch comic run and the way titled Ghost Agents and set during the Clone Wars. There are also new hyperspace stories focused on Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, and General Grievous on the way. So that's about what we should to expect the bulk of what's coming for 2025. Did I miss anything? What are you most excited about? Andor Season 2 should be a fucking blast. Man, and I can't wait. And I hope other people eat the words on Season 1. What are you looking forward to? Let us know at Jedi Talk Podcast on Instagram, youtube.com/Jedi Talk. There's some great novels coming out as well. I'm sure the Reign of the Empire will be great to read, and I will consume it as much as I possibly can. But you guys have been great. We've been Jedi Talk this evening. I appreciate listening to the solo show. We will be back and better than ever. Evan and I will be back. Brad, no news on when he's coming back yet, but when he's back, he's back. So follow us. Again, Jedi Talk Podcast on Instagram, youtube.com/Jedi Talk. We will see you next week. Have a fantastic new year. 3 days max on that, by the way. Rise, Jedi Knight.